To continue on what occurs on page 156, point number 15, the author rahimahullah said, وَالْإِيمَانُ بِالْمِيزَانِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يُوزَنُ فِيهِ الْخَيْرُ وَالشَّرُّ لَهُ كِفَّتَانِ وَلَهُ لِسَانٌ. He said, and to have Eemaan in the balance of Meezaan on the day of resurrection. Upon it, good and evil will be weighed. It has two scales, two balance plates, and a pointer. It has two scales, two balance plates, and a pointer. And in the when I previously translated the book, I translated it as literally with the Arabic there, lisan. And the correction there is it should have been translated as pointer. It should translate as a pointer. So wherever I've been something here that's different to the earlier English translation, this will be a correction of what came over. Shaykh Fawzan, hafidhahullah, he said in explanation, from the issues of Aqidah, creed and belief, is having Eemaan in the Meezaan, in the balance, with which the deeds of the servants will be weighed on the day of resurrection. So then Shaykh Fawzan begins to mention the evidences for this from the Quran. He said, He the Most High said, وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْحَقِّ فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ ومن خفت موازينه فأولئك الذين خسروا أنفسهم بما كانوا بآياتنا يظلمون. Surah Al-A'raf, the 7th Surah, ayat 8 to 9, with the explanation, and the weighing on that day, the day of resurrection, and the weighing on that day will be true. So whoever's scale of good deeds is heavier, then they will be the successful ones. And whoever's scale of good deeds is lighter, then they are the ones who will have lost their own selves on account of their rejecting our signs. Then Shaykh Fawzan quotes the second ayah. He said, and in the other ayah, خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ فِي جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدُونَ, Surah Al-Mu'minun, the 23rd Surah, ayah 103. And there's another similar ayah, but here the ending is different. خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ فِي جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدُونَ. With the explanation, they will lose their own selves, remaining forever in the hellfire. Shaykh Fawzan said, if the scale of good deeds, the Meezaan al-Hasanat, if the scale of good deeds is heavier, then the servant will be blissful and successful. But if the opposite is the case, and the evil deeds are heavier, the servant will be destroyed. And he quotes the ayahs, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. Surah Al-Qari'ah, 101st Surah, ayah 6 to 11, with the explanation, so whoever's scale of good deeds is heavy, then he will live a pleasant life in paradise, and whoever's scale of good deeds is lighter, then he will have his abode in the pit of hell. And what will explain to you what is the pit of hell? It is a blazing hot fire. Shaykh Fawzan said, and this is from the justice of Allah, the Majestic and Most High, that He will weigh the good deeds and the bad deeds with a balance which they will see. The people, it says something the people will not be able to deny. They will actually see justice with their eyes. They will see that Allah doesn't just judge between them. He shows them the balance, weighing between good deeds and bad deeds. They'll see it with their eyes. A Meezaan mahsus, a physical balance, which has two scales, two balance plates, and it has a pointer. There's a pointer which points which way, which is heavier, which side is heavier. The good deeds will be placed on one balance plate, and the evil deeds will be placed on one balance plate, as is indicated in the book and the Sunnah, contrary to the Mu'tazila. Again, the Mu'tazila disagree. Contrary to the Mu'tazila, those who say what is meant by scales, al-mawazin, and the balance, al-mizan, what is meant by it is the establishment of justice. But there is actually no physical scale, no physical balance there. That's what they say. They say it's just metaphorical. It just means that justice will be established. There won't actually be a balance there. The Shaykh said this is based upon their false and futile position, because they rely upon their intellect and they do not place reliance upon the texts. Shaykh said, so the balance, the Meezaan, is haqiqi, is something real. It will have two balance plates, as occurs in the authentic ahadith. In a footnote here, they mention that some of them will mention, some of these ahadith will follow, and they say Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari mentioned in his book Maqalat al-Islamiyyin. He brings this quote here from Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, that he said, the people of the truth said, speaking about the Meezaan, the balance, people of the truth said, it has a pointer and two balance plates. On one of the scales, good deeds will be weighed, and on the other, the evil deeds. Whereas the people of innovation, they negate the balance, and they say scales does not mean literally, does not mean scales on pointers, but rather it is metaphorical, just meaning that Allah will recompense them for their deeds, measure for measure. He said, and they denied the balance. End of the quote from Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari. Back to the explanation of Shaykh al-Fawzan, he said, moving on with the next part of the phrase of the author, rahimahullah, he said, his saying, يُوزَنُ فِيهِ الْخَيْرُ وَالشَّرُ, that good and evil will be weighed upon it. Shaykh al-Fawzan said, meaning al-hasanat wa-sayyi'at, good deeds and evil deeds. And he said, his saying, له كفتان وله لسان, it will have two scales and a pointer. Shaykh Fawzan said, it will have two scales, two balance plates, as occurs in the ahadith. The good deeds will be placed on one scale and the evil deeds on one scale, as occurs in the hadith al-bitaqa, hadith of the parchment. It's a famous hadith referred to as hadith al-bitaqa, the hadith of the parchment, the little card of parchment. So it says, as occurs in the hadith of the parchment. And then he mentions, Shaykh Fawzan, he summarizes a long hadith, and it comes in the footnote afterwards. He summarizes it here. He said, as occurs in the hadith of the parchment, with regard to the story of the person who will have 99 scrolls. On the day of resurrection, there will be a man who will come be brought in front of the people, who will have 99 scrolls of his deeds. Every scroll from them will stretch as far as the eye can see, and will be filled with evil deeds. So it will be said to him, do you have any good deed? So he will say, La ya Rab, no, O my Lord. So he will see the tremendous size of these large scrolls, and he will say, La ya Rab, no, O my Lord. So it will be said, Bala innaka la tuzlamu indana laka hasana. He said, rather, you will not be wronged. A single good deed with us. Or you have a good deed with us, one good deed with us. So a parchment will be brought containing the testification that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and the testification that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I mean, this will be brought in his favour. Just one parchment will be brought in his favour. Testification, La ilaha illallah, and testification, Muhammadun Rasulullah. So he made that testification in the world. And it will be placed on one scale, and the scrolls will be placed on the other scale, and the parchment will outweigh. The parchment will be heavier. I mean, the one with the shahada upon it will outweigh the rest. And the scrolls will be lighter. So he will enter into paradise. In a footnote they mention here, with regard to this hadith, that this hadith is a hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhuma, who said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a man from my nation will be called out in front of the whole of the creation on the day of resurrection. So 99 scrolls will be laid out for him. Each of the scrolls will be as far as the eye can see. Then it will be said, do you deny anything from this? So he will say, no, O my Lord. So it will be said, do you have any excuse or any good deed? So the man will fear, and he will say, no. So it will be said, yes indeed, you have good deeds with us. You will not be wronged with regard to them. So a parchment will be brought out for him, small parchment will be brought out for him, containing, I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his slave and his messenger. So he will say, O my Lord, what is this parchment in comparison to those scrolls? So it will be said, you will not be wronged. So the scrolls will be placed on one balance, on one scale, and the parchment will be placed on one scale. So the scrolls will be lighter and the parchment will outweigh. Reported by Ibn al-Mubarak in his book Al-Zuhd and in his Musnad, and by Imam Ahmad and by Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah and others besides. And Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, he declared this hadith sahih, authentic. As a side point here, in addition to this, with regard to this hadith, Shaykh Salih al-Suhaimi hafidhahullah, he mentioned some points of benefit with regard to this hadith. So I mentioned them here, this famous hadith. Shaykh Salih al-Suhaimi, in his explanation, he mentioned some points of benefit of this hadith. He mentioned the hadith in the explanation, and he mentioned the points of benefit. He said, the hadith contains a number of points of benefit. And there he goes on and he mentions 5 points of benefit. Firstly, the first benefit is that the people of sins will be beneath al-mashi'ah, will be beneath Allah's wish and will, His mashi'ah. If Allah wishes, He will forgive them by His favour, and if He wishes, He will punish them by His justice. The second point of benefit is that whoever is such that his Eemaan is strong and his Tawheed, his Eemaan, his true belief, and his Tawheed is strong, and his attachment to Allah, the Mighty and Majestic, then this person, or this fact, the fact that his Eemaan is strong and his Tawheed is strong, this may be a means for wiping away all of his evil deeds. And there is no clearer proof for this than the fact that this small parchment will outweigh and overcome all the rest of the parchment, all the rest of the scroll. The third point of benefit, he said, is that the person who is a murtakib al-kabira, a person guilty of major sin, he does not become a disbeliever, as the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila claim. Rather, he is beneath the Mashi'atullah. He is beneath the wish and will of Allah. So even if he is punished, then still he will not remain forever in the fire. Then he mentions the fourth point of benefit, which is the tremendousness or the tremendous virtue of La ilaha illallah. None has the right to be worshipped except Allah, over the rest of deeds. So when a Muslim says it, knowing its meaning and acting in accordance with it, then that is the case. Tremendous. The fifth point of benefit, he said, is establishment of the Meezaan, the balance of deeds, with which the deeds will be weighed on the day of resurrection, and that it is a balance which is true, haqiqatan, true and real. It will be erected on the open plain of the resurrection before the passing over the bridge, before the passing over the sirat. This is the most correct of the sayings which the people of knowledge mention. And back to the explanation of Shaykh al-Fawzan, he mentioned the hadith of the bitaqa that we just had the footnote with regard to, hadith of the parchment. Then Shaykh al-Fawzan continues, this is a proof that there will be two scales, two balance plates for this balance, upon which the deeds will be placed on the day of resurrection. And he mentions, moves on to the final statement of the author here, وَلَهُ لِسَانٌ, and it has a pointer. Shaykh Fawzan said, لِسَانُ الْمِيزَانِ, the lisan of the balance, the pointer of the balance, is well known with the people. They call it qalb al-mizan, they call it the heart of the balance, that which leans to the right or to the left. And if the two balance plates are equal, then the heart of the balance will be level. This pointer in the middle, if they're both equal, the pointer will be level, straight up. And if one scale outweighs, then the pointer will point towards it. Just very briefly, that's where Shaykh al-Fawzan ends the explanation of this point, just very, very briefly. Then Shaykh Ahmad al-Najmi, rahimahullah, he said in explanation of this point, وَلَهُ lisan, and it has a pointer, he said, as for the lisan, the pointer, then it is a shawka, a spike or a point, through which it is known which way the balance leans, which way it inclines, to which side it points. Whichever way is heavier, the point on top, there's a point on top of it, that will point which way is heavier.